This presentation is about water quality. As as you all know, water quality के बारे में है presentation, जो भारत का एक बहुत बड़ा problem है आज के दिन पे. मगर मुझे ये भी लगता है कि ये एक बहुत बड़ा opportunity भी है भारत के लिए change लाने के लिए. It's also a very big opportunity for change for India. And in this presentation, I'll try and talk about that. This problem, how is it also a very big opportunity for change? I'm sure what we have in our minds today is definitely something overwhelming for the past 3 to 4 months, and definitely a very grave situation in many parts of our country and across the world, especially the bigger cities. But then one thing we also need to know that everybody is affected in some way or the other. The crisis that we face now is a crisis of, you can say, decades. People are going to talk about it, about maybe just these few months that we hope that we get over it. Integral and very core to this present situation is definitely hand wash. Something which we all take for granted. जो हम सभी को शायद जो यहाँ पर इस वेबिनार में है, हैंड वॉश एक बहुत सरल चीज है. पानी की उपलब्धि हम सभी को शायद है, और हैंड वॉश हमारे लिए कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. शायद हम सभी लोग जो यहाँ पर इस वेबिनार में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं, but there are so many for whom even basic hand wash and basic availability of safe water is still something very distant. बहुत दूर की बात है लोगों के लिए कि एक हैंड वॉश के लिए पानी भी होना, because arranging water for hand wash means further couple of rounds of a woman to fetch water from a water source in this peak of summer. तो ये कोई आसान बात नहीं है पानी लोगों के पास होना इस देश में, और वो भी सेफ वाटर घर के कामों के लिए, सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर और घर के सभी कामों के लिए. तो इस सिचुएशन पे ये जो प्रॉब्लम है वो और उभर के आ रहा है. इट इज कमिंग आउट इवन मोर क्लियरली in this current situation. The current COVID-19 situation and water are linked in many ways. Hand wash एक लिंक है, वेस्ट वाटर दूसरा एक लिंक है, जहाँ पर जैसे हम से कई लोगों को पता हो कि वेस्ट वाटर में भी इसको देखा जा रहा है, जो शायद हमारे लिए हानिकारक नहीं है, मगर शायद उससे हम इसको ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं, उसको देख सकते हैं. इट इज अ मीन्स ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑफ एंड सर्वेलेंस ऑफ द डिजीज itself. A big connection between water, sanitation, and the current situation is also the public standpoints, water, sanitation, and crowding of people, and thereby spreading further of this disease. Many different connections of COVID and water, and very broadly, as we now even more recognize, water and health as a very broad two streams are very closely connected. पानी और स्वास्थ्य, ना, ये दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ बहुत गहराई से जुड़े हुए हैं, जो आज इस सिचुएशन में, इस स्थिति में उभर के काफी क्लियरली आ रहा है. तो ये वाटर एंड हेल्थ है, ये जो पानी और स्वास्थ्य की जो संबंध है ना, वो हमेशा ही ह्यूमन सोसाइटी हैज रिकॉग्नाइज्ड दिस फॉर लॉन्ग. हमेशा ही इसकी समझ लोगों के अंदर रही है. पुराने जमाने से अगर हम देखें कल्चर्स में, तो ये जो पानी की जो शुद्धता और ये जो हमारे स्वास्थ्य के साथ इसका जो संबंध, ये पुराने जमाने से सभी देशों में, सभी कल्चर्स में इसकी एक रिकॉग्निशन रही है. पीपल हैव रिकॉग्नाइज्ड दिस इन ऑल सोसाइटीज. एंड समवेयर क्वालिटी ऑफ वाटर ये लोगों के मन में बैठा हुआ है, हम सभी के अंदर बैठा हुआ है ना. अगर यहाँ पर मुझे आप लोगों के साथ एक डिस्कशन करने का मौका हो, तो मैं आपको सबसे पहले यही पूछूंगा कि जब वाटर क्वालिटी कहते हैं तो आपके मन में क्या आता है ना. तो और यहीं से हमारे काफी सारे कॉन्वर्जेशन शुरू भी होते हैं ना. व्हाट डज इट कम टू योर माइंड व्हेन वी से क्वालिटी ऑफ वाटर? I think we all have something in mind. Sometimes it's about clear water, bright water, clear water. that we can see. And this question about what is quality of water is, I feel it is in itself something to think about. यानी ये खुद में एक सोचने वाली बात है कि क्वालिटी ऑफ वाटर आखिर है क्या, है ना? क्योंकि हम सबके मन में, हम सबके दिमाग में शायद कुछ उसका चित्र बैठा हुआ है, और वो चित्र जानना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि इस इश्यू के साथ जुड़ने में वो जो चित्र हमारे दिमाग में बैठा हुआ है, दैट इमेज ऑफ व्हाट इज वाटर, what is quality of water is very important, and I'll come to why it is important. We start with this always, हम इससे शुरू करते हैं कि बहुत तीन बेसिक चीजें हैं जिससे ह्यूमन बीइंग्स, इवन एनिमल्स इफ यू सी, यू नो, जो वाटर के साथ जुड़ते हैं और क्वालिटी ऑफ वाटर के साथ, वेरी थ्री बेसिक थिंग्स: साइट, स्मेल एंड टेस्ट। हम आंखों से जो देखते हैं और जो सुनते हैं और जो टेस्ट करते हैं, तो ये तीन ही चीजें हैं जिससे हम नॉर्मल तरीके से हम पानी को समझते हैं और पानी की क्वालिटी को हम महसूस करते हैं। But beyond these three senses, that is sight, smell and taste, are also things which are invisible, है ना, जो हमारे आंखों के सामने दिखता नहीं है, शायद बहुत छोटा है इसलिए इनविजिबल लगता है, कि वो हमको आंख में दिखाई नहीं देता है, एंड वो ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट रखता है, वो ज्यादा मायने रखता है पानी के क्वालिटी। सवाल ये भी उठता है कि कौन डिसाइड करता है कि पानी अच्छा है कि खराब है, यू नो, विच वाटर इज गुड। आज हमारे सामने अगर कोई पानी का बॉटल रखा जाए तो हम तो उसको पी लेते हैं क्योंकि हमको विश्वास है उसके ऊपर, बिकॉज वी हैव अ बिलीफ, bottle of water, in that glass of water, you know, we decide ultimately as individuals, we decide, and we also give a status to water. हम पानी को एक दर्जा भी देते हैं, हम पानी से खुद को शुद्ध भी करते हैं, प्योर भी करते हैं। जहाँ पर एक पिक्चर दिया हुआ है शिंटो, जो जापान में आप जाते हैं तो आपको इस तरीके के टेम्पल्स मिलते हैं, वहां पर लोग पानी से खुद को शुद्ध करते हैं ना। पानी की इतनी शुद्धता है, सभी संस्कृतियों में है, अगर भारत में भी जाते हैं तो बहुत सारे यहाँ के संस्कृतियों में भी है। तो कल्चर के अंदर पानी की प्योरिटी, क्वालिटी के बारे में अपना खुद का एक सोच है, अपना खुद का एक थिंकिंग है। एंड इसमें यह भी जरूरी है कि पानी किस चीज के लिए है। पानी क्या पीने के लिए है, खाना बनाने के लिए है, नहाने के लिए है, कपड़े धोने के लिए है, घर में सफाई के लिए है, पानी क्या सिंचाई के लिए है, जानवर के लिए है, मछली के लिए है। व्हाट इज दिस वाटर फॉर, व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ वाटर? The quality is also linked with that purpose of water. You know, there are many industries where you need a very different quality of water, especially semiconductor industries need a very particular type of water purity. So the water quality that semiconductor industries will look at is very different from how we will look at for water quality, and so on. The water quality is broadly, you know, it's also about perception, cultural aspects, and also purpose of what it is intended for. But हाँ, ये जो subjectivity है, ये जो this subjectivity which is there, in some ways it is made objective, in some ways it is made clear because of what we call standards. यहाँ पर आपको एक जो दिख रहा है कि 1 किलो का जो weight यहाँ पे रखा हुआ है वो एक standard है ना? This is a standard for weight. And जो if you talk to an engineer के साथ बात करते हैं तो आप वो कहेगा कि पानी में कोई भी जो शुद्धता है वो एक स्टैंडर्ड से है ना। 1 लीटर में अगर इतने मिलीग्राम कोई वस्तु है तो वो खराब है। तो what do they mean when they say and that there is a standard behind water? It is all measured in unit weight. So if you take a 50 kilogram adult, but each kilogram of that person, you know, if you take a unit weight of that person, how much of that substance, how much of that thing can a person have in a day? तो अगर मानो हम if we think of water as a lot of chemicals inside, you know, कि पानी में there are so many different chemicals inside water, chlorides हैं, fluorides हैं, nitrates, so many different things in water. Now in a whole day, each unit weight of our body, each kilogram of our body, how much can it take? उसको MTDI कहा जाता है. That is the science behind it. There is a lot of work which goes behind it. WHO जैसे संस्थाएं हैं, they have committees on each aspect of water quality, and उसके बाद standards बनते हैं. Now in India also we have an agency called Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS. Maybe many of you have heard about it. And BIS comes up with drinking water standards. Now when we talk to people about BIS, many people have heard, but when we actually say, do you know the standards, then we say only 50% people understand it. Then जब हम when we ask another question about what is the standard that you've understood, then very few people. So we are trying our best to also communicate. The next slide will be about trying to do that. No? So a little bit, we will pause here for maybe a minute or two and then go ahead. So हम सभी ने ट्रैफिक सिग्नल कहीं ना कहीं देखा है ना? We have all seen traffic signals, and traffic signals come in roughly these three colors, and maybe the color is not coming properly, but green, yellow, and red. Green means green signal, आगे बढ़ो, that is go ahead. Red is stop, it is danger. Yellow is somewhere in the between, है ना? तो पानी को कैसे देखा जाता है कि पानी शुद्ध है, पानी शुद्ध नहीं है, उसका कोई स्टैंडर्ड नहीं है कि there is no single standard which says pani is safe or water is safe or not, because water can have so many things inside it. You know, so many different ions, so many different chemicals, combinations of them. So there is a standard for each and every one of them, right? And I have put here a few of them which are very important to us in India, and I'll come to it again and again. You know, I'll come to these 4 or 5 or 6 again and again in this presentation, and there are many more which I'm going to talk about. ये जो 4-5-6 चीजें हैं, जैसे कि फ्लोराइड, आर्सेनिक, आयन, TDS, यानी कि आप इसको क्षार से समझ सकते हैं, पानी नमकीन जो लगता है वैसे समझ सकते हैं इसको, सिंपल सरल तरीके से अगर समझना है तो ये सभी में ट्रैफिक सिग्नल जैसा जो बना हुआ है, ग्रीन मतलब अच्छा है पानी, रेड मतलब खराब है, और येलो मतलब बीच की जो चीज है कि खराब तो है मगर थोड़ा हम सहन कर सकते हैं उस चीज को। तो इस तरीके के आपको जो दिखेगा कि 0, 1, 1.5, ये मतलब कि 1 लीटर में आपको कितना मिलीग्राम हो सकता है, हाउ मच concentration can there be in a liter. It's a broad level of standard, and this is one way to show it. It has its problems, this way of showing it, but then I think we all have to try to educate ourselves. हमको समझना है standards के बारे में, तभी हम एक बहुत जरूरी important पहलू है, very important dimension of this, which is data, right? So if we have to understand data, that is अगर हम एक कोई गांव में है, हमारे गांव में कोई कहता है कि कुएं का पानी खराब है, अगर कुएं का पानी खराब है, if this well water is bad, then there is some data to it. So what is the data? The data says that this water has some kind of bacteria, इसमें कोई कीटाणु है। डेटा कहता है कि इसमें कोई केमिकल है, वो नाइट्रेट है, मगर वो उसको हमको स्टैंडर्ड्स के साथ देखना है ना। अगर किसी ने कह दिया इसमें 20 है नाइट्रेट, वो 20 का कोई मतलब नहीं है, वो 20 स्टैंडर्ड्स के साथ कैसे कंपेयर होता है वो हमको देखना है। अभी ये जो वाटर क्वालिटी का डेटा है, तो जैसे पानी के बारे में हम सब जानते हैं, वी ऑल अंडरस्टैंड देयर इज अ वाटर साइकिल. वाटर साइकिल इज स्नो इज वाटर, रिवर्स आर वाटर, पॉन्ड्स, एक्विफर्स यानी कि भूजल जो है जमीन के नीचे है वो हम पानी है, तालाब है, नदी है, ये सभी पानी है ना। तो डेटा जो है पानी की क्वालिटी के बारे में यहाँ सभी से आता है। वो डेटा किस चीज के बारे में आता है? रसायन के केमिकल्स के बारे में आता है, न्यूट्रिएंट्स यानी पौष्टिक तत्व भी हैं, वो भी क्वालिटी में इसका संबंध है। पैथोजेंस यानी कि जो कीटाणु है, जर्म्स, दीस आर आल्सो डेटा अबाउट वाटर क्वालिटी। एंड ये जो वाटर क्वालिटी है, यू कैन मेजर इट वंस। मानो कि आपका कुआं बना है, एक बार उसको मेजर किया, कहीं कहीं पे साल में 2 बार मेजर करते हैं, बारिश के पहले और बाद में, कहीं कहीं पे हर महीने मेजर करते हैं। In some days you measure it every day, depends on your need. So this water quality data can be from different water sources. It can be about different water components. It can be about different times, right? And if you want to know about what is the quality of water in any place, you'll first look at government data. आप सरकार के डेटा में जाकर देखेंगे, और सरकार के डेटा में भी कई सारे सोर्सेस हैं, है ना। नहीं कि एक ही जगह से आता है। जो ड्रिंकिंग वाटर डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर, दैट इज वन सोर्स, pollution control board is another source. There are many sources, right? Central groundwater board is one source, central water commission, CWC, there are many different sources. हर एक स्टेट में भी अलग sources हैं, and many NGOs who are present here in this webinar, I can see a lot of them also collect data, वो उसको share करते हैं। और ये डेटा कैसा होता है? ये डेटा अगर आपको देखना है, ये काफी बार होता है कोई आंकड़े में होता है, नंबर्स में होता है। दिस डेटा मेनी टाइम इज इन नंबर्स, राइट? 2.5, 3.5, और बहुत बार ये यस नो में भी होता है कि वो सही है कि खराब है। अभी जब आपको इसके ऊपर काम करना है, नहीं तो आप अपने घर के बारे में सोचते हैं, मेरा घर का पानी ठीक है क्या, मुझे फिल्टर कौन सा लेना है, मेरे बच्चे सुरक्षित हैं क्या, आर माई चिल्ड्रन सेफ, एम आई सेफ? When we have all these questions, then we look for data, and suddenly we find where is the data? Suddenly, there is a whole struggle of this data that comes up. And that I call the struggles with data and journeys, jo many of us are struggling with. And there is a it is in fact not an easy thing, right? I mean, um, we have all spent many years on this, and how much ever information you get is insufficient in some way, but still people make do with what is there. मैं यहाँ पे pause करता हूँ. I'll pause here just to do a check of if the audio is fine, if I'm going at a fine pace. So if Himanshi, if you can confirm if audio is okay.
Yes, Sundar, your audio is okay. I think there were a few queries on, they were not able to hear, but I think maybe to a lot of people, your audio is okay. Maybe it's a problem at the other end. The video is also fine. The presentation is visible. I think you can proceed.
Okay, okay. तो अब मैं करीब इस प्रेजेंटेशन के पहले आधे पार्ट में आया हूँ, फर्स्ट हाफ और लेस देन दैट. Now I'll go to second part of this presentation, and in the second part of the presentation, in the second part, I'm going to talk about what are we faced with, what is the reality. कि ये जो water quality है, I said that data is a very difficult aspect of it. Data जो जानकारी है वो बहुत कम है. फिर भी हम जानते हैं कई चीजें ना पानी की क्वालिटी के बारे में, और भारत में काफी सारा काम हुआ है, काफी सारे लोग इसके ऊपर रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, काफी सारे गवर्नमेंट की एजेंसीज इसके ऊपर डेटा कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं, तो हम जानते भी हैं काफी कुछ. तो पहले मैं यहाँ पर इस चीज को रखने की कोशिश करूंगा कि हमारे सामने ये है क्या, ये चीज वाटर क्वालिटी क्या दिख रहा है हमारे देश में, what are we faced with. So this is the second part. I maybe packed too much information into this, looking at the wide diversity of people in this webinar. शायद मैंने बहुत ज्यादा जानकारी रखा है, तो आप देखिए कि आप क्या ले सकते हैं इसके अंदर, क्या नहीं. इसमें से हर स्लाइड के बारे में और बहुत कुछ जान सकते हैं, हर स्लाइड पे एक होल प्रेजेंटेशन हो सकता है. तो अब मैं आगे बढ़, तो जैसे मैंने कहा कि ये 5 की 6 चीजें हैं, फ्लोराइड, आर्सेनिक, सैलिनिटी, आयरन, नाइट्रेट्स और पैथोजेंस. जैसे ये 6 चीजें हैं, आखिर में जो पैथोजेंस है वो कीटाणु समझ सकते हैं, बैक्टीरिया वायरस, जैसे कि अभी ये जो कोविड-19 का कोरोना वायरस घूम रहा है, वैसे बहुत सारे पैथोजेंस हैं जो पानी में भी है, जो हमारे लिए शरीर के हानिकारक है ना. तो उसी के साथ ये जो केमिकल्स हैं वो भी पानी में है. भारत में भूजल में ज्यादा पाया जाता है, और जैसे आप जानते हैं कि हम भूजल का पानी ज्यादा पीते हैं भारत में अब तक. तो वी मोस्टली ड्रिंक ग्राउंड वाटर इन इंडिया from wells or hand pumps as shown here, or bore wells. So fluoride, arsenic, salinity, iron and nitrates are mostly present much more in groundwater and also in other forms of water. So I'll give a very quick snapshot view, कि जो what we can afford in this presentation. I'll give a very quick snapshot view so that some issues also come forward within this. जैसे कि मैंने आपको कहा, I shared with you that there will be maybe too much information in some slides. So for example this slide, there is a lot of information. तो यहाँ पर हम बात कर रहे हैं कोस्टल सैलिनिटी, यानी कि भारत का जो कोस्ट है 7,500 किलोमीटर्स. इंडिया हैज अ ह्यूज कोस्ट लाइन, 7,500 किलोमीटर लंबा कोस्ट लाइन है. गुजरात से लेकर पश्चिम बंगाल तक हमारा कोस्ट है, जो समुद्र के तट पर इतने सारे जगह हैं. और उसमें कई कई जगह पर पानी सैलिनिटी से अफेक्टेड है, यानी पानी क्षार से है, खारा पानी है ये सभी जगहों पर. उसमें काफी सारी जानकारी है हमें इतने सालों तक, और ये समझा जा रहा है कि पानी धीरे धीरे अंदर भी आता जा रहा है ग्राउंड वाटर. इसको बोलते हैं salinity ingress. This is called salinity ingress because of lot of use of groundwater over years. As our use of water increases, use of groundwater increases, slowly seawater enters into groundwater, which is called salinity ingress. And that is happening across India's coast. There are many studies which we put together in a summary many years back. And if you are able to see that curve, that trend on the right side, ये जो ट्रेंड है वो एक जगह की है, यानी गुजरात में there is this place called Junagadh in Gujarat, where each of these curves, each of these lines is 30-year trend of each of these different places within Junagadh. As you might see, one place called Una is just climbing, climbing, and climbing. There is another place called Kodinar, which is not so. So even if you say, if you take places which are very close by, the problem of water quality is rising very strongly in some places, and it also has cycles. So आप इतने सालों में देखते हैं, then you will see that there are many cycles which are linked to climate. I'll come to that later, which are linked to rainfall. So there are many reasons which affect, salinity. ना, और ये कोस्टल salinity में इसी तरह भारत के अंदर कई जगह हैं जहां पर सैलिनिटी का प्रॉब्लम भी है ना। वो यहाँ पर हिमांशु जी हैं, वो उसके बारे में और बता पाएंगे। जैसे जियोलॉजी में बहुत साल पहले वहां पर समुद्र हुआ करता था और वहीं पर समुद्र का जो सैलिनिटी है वो बैठा हुआ है, वो भी एक कारण है। तो भारत में अंदर और भी जगहों पर ये सैलिनिटी के प्रॉब्लम्स है। नेक्स्ट थिंग गो आर्सेनिक। आर्सेनिक ऐसा एक चीज है जो भारत में ज्यादातर गंगा और ब्रह्मपुत्र की जो नदी है उसके आसपास के जगहों पर ज्यादातर पाया जाता है, मगर अभी दूसरे जगहों पे देखा जा रहा है। जो ये रीजन मैं यहाँ पर दिखा रहा हूँ उसको छोड़कर कर्नाटक में भी कई जगह हैं वहां पर आर्सेनिक पाया जाता है। ये जो आर्सेनिक एक तरह का प्राकृतिक है, नेचुरल है। दिस इज अ नेचुरल, यू कैन से आर्सेनिक, जियोजेनिक बोलते हैं इसको, मायने कि ये मिट्टी से ही निकल के आता है। और ये गंगा ब्रह्मपुत्र मेघना ये पूरे जो एरिया है वहां पे ये ज्यादा दिखाई देता है। This map we made last year. It's about Eastern Gangetic Plains. That is, it doesn't have Assam here, but Assam is also a major area affected by arsenic. One of the premier people in our country working on this problem is Professor Ashok Ghosh, who has mapped a huge region over here, and also many other people, some of whom have also passed away. A lot of work by Indian scientists in this field. Deepankar Chakraborty हैं, तो कई लोगों ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है भारत में इसके ऊपर। यहाँ पर हम दिखा रहे हैं कि पूरे रीजन में, नेपाल में, तराई में, यूपी, बिहार, बांग्लादेश, वेस्ट बंगाल, इन सभी जगहों में आर्सेनिक फैला हुआ है। आर्सेनिक से कैंसर भी हो सकता है, आर्सेनिक से स्किन के कई प्रॉब्लम होते हैं, और ये ज्यादातर इस रीजन में फैला हुआ एक प्रॉब्लम है। अभी अगर आपको आर्सेनिक से जूझना है, आर्सेनिक से समझना है, तो मैं उसके ऊपर और गहराई से अभी नहीं जाता हूँ। यहाँ पर हम हर एक इश्यू के बारे में पहले यहाँ पर समझ रहे हैं इस प्रेजेंटेशन में। तो मैं आर्सेनिक से आगे में जा रहा हूँ, फ्लोराइड। तो while I have written here, if you can see the right side, there is a note to myself and also to all of you. Just remember this map and I'll come to it in the last slide, जो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, AI और डेटा के ऊपर है। तो ये जो मैप है, इस तरीके के कई मैप फ्यूचर में बनेंगे। दिस मैप इज नॉट ऑफ this chemical fluoride in the country, but this map of the chance of fluoride. This map uses many different layers. It uses a lot of different things which are related to fluoride, and they have mapped it to a very small extent. इसको बहुत गहराई से, गांव के शायद लेवल तक भी इसको मैप किया गया है कि भारत में कहाँ पे फ्लोराइड हो सकता है, जबकि डेटा इतना नहीं है, मगर इस मैप को बनाया गया है। तो भारत जैसे देश में शायद हमको यही करना पड़ेगा कि नए टेक्नोलॉजी को यूज करते हुए, नए जो चीजें आ रहे हैं दुनिया में, जो कंप्यूटर्स में आपको कर सकते हैं, AI कहते हैं उसको, उससे जो लर्निंग हो सकता है, वहां से हम डेटा को यूज करके आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। और वो शायद आगे की दिशा है जिसको मैं आखिरी में जिसके बारे में बात करूंगा। अभी मुझे दिख रहा है कि मैं थोड़ा जा रहा हूँ, तो आई ट्राई टू स्पीड अप अ बिट। अभी ये जो सिंपलर प्रॉब्लम्स है रिलेटिवली जो पुराने हैं, जिससे हम जानते हैं, उसके बाद नए प्रॉब्लम्स काफी सारे आ रहे हैं। तो ये जो पहला प्रॉब्लम है, द फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम on the left on the top is this problem called CKD. CKD is chronic kidney disorder, right? Now the big red dot, big red circle is Uddanam region, Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and there it is CKDU, यानी कि we have chronic kidney disorder in a massive region, but of unknown reasons. Nobody knows क्यों हो रहा है. If you ask doctors, a lot of doctors will say it is because of water contamination. But unfortunately, not much work has happened to seeing why is it happening, and it's kidney failure happening. यानी कि even young people, I myself have met girls who are adolescent girls who have kidney failure at a young age. And this problem is spreading. As we talk about, CKD has reached at least 4 different regions. Something to be aware of, and water quality के issues में हमको ये जानने की जरूरत है. Second thing on the right is about uranium. So when I say uranium, we should be alarmed in terms of radioactive wala uranium. It is not that high, But then this uranium is still very bad in groundwater in many parts of India, enough to cause kidney disorders, some type of cancer. Punjab has been a big pocket of uranium, but then recently Department of Atomic Energy has done studies in 6 kilometer grid across India, and we all should try to get them to share this data, which hasn't come out. And this is an excellent project in which universities across India have worked and mapped uranium across the country. There's a lot of data available, but it hasn't come out. तो यूरेनियम एक ऐसा चीज है जो हमको जानना जरूरी है और जो भारत के कई जगहों में इसका फैलाव है। नीचे का चीज है जो शायद दिख नहीं रहा है स्टिक से स्क्रीन में, which is about chromium, and mainly it is linked to Kanpur, that is the industries in near Kanpur. But when we measure chromium, हम जब chromium को measure करते हैं तो और भी कई जगहों पर ये दिख रहा है। प्रॉब्लम भी ये होता है कि कई चीज ये मेजर नहीं कर रहे हैं। We are not measuring uranium, we are not measuring chromium, we are not seeing reasons behind kidney disorders. So many of these things remain unknown. Right? More layering that I do here of the known issues: mining and heavy metals. Many of our rivers are polluted because of two reasons here: mining and highly polluting industries, HPI, and many of which unfortunately still continue to operate across the country, dumping waste into the water bodies. Unfortunately, this is still happening. Two other issues that we need to be aware of is the whole issue of toilets. कि if you go to villages, गांव में आप जाएंगे तो जो स्वच्छ भारत मिशन में भी जो टॉयलेट्स बने हुए हैं, सिंगल पिट डबल पिट बने हुए हैं, तो वो जो पानी है, जो जो पिट है, वो पानी के साथ काफी गहराई से जुड़ा हुआ है। तो वही जो पिट है, उसी के अंदर से जो कीटाणु है वो निकल कर सीधे हैंडपंप की कुएं में चले जाते हैं। तो वो एक पूरा लिंकेज बन जाता है बीमारियों को फैलने का। तो ये काफी बड़ा चीज है जिसको हमको जूझना है, और जूझ रहे हैं लोग तो इसके साथ हर एक दिन। और ये वाटर क्वालिटी का एक और एक लेयर है जो इसके पहले के जो इश्यूज हैं उसके साथ जुड़ता है। लास्ट में मैं यहाँ पर जो दिखा रहा हूँ, जो हम काफी भूल जाते हैं क्योंकि आंखों के सामने नहीं दिखता है, वो है जो समुंदर। दीज आर ओशंस, एंड दैट टू अगेन समथिंग विच वी कैन नॉट सी। आई पुट हियर डेलिबरेटली समथिंग large waste which we can see, but microplastics which are invisible to the eye. And around 4-5 months back, there was a big campaign about plastics. These microplastics are everywhere, and very recently it's also been found in some countries in placenta. You know, and newborn children are having microplastics within. This is a fact. This is a reality, and unfortunately, because of last many decades of practices, that we are now finding these contaminants in water. Because of special request from Himanshu, I put this slide. In fact, climate and water quality, it's a whole presentation. You know, we need to spend just at least half an hour or 1 hour on it. I'll quickly go, or I can share a link where we wrote up an article a couple of months back. There are multiple linkages each way, and I call it downstream and upstream. That is, the phytoplankton thing, phytocarbons, the carbon sink. Oceans are the biggest carbon sink, one of the biggest carbon sinks in the world. तो ये जो क्लाइमेट चेंज का प्रॉब्लम है, उसमें कार्बन का साइकिल है, जैसे कि वाटर साइकिल है, कार्बन का साइकिल है, एंड ओशंस आर वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट सिंक्स ऑफ कार्बन, एंड ओशंस आर आल्सो वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट सिंक्स बिकॉज ऑफ थिंग्स सच एज फाइटोप्लैंक्टन जो ओशन में है। अभी ये जो फाइटोप्लैंक्टन है वो पानी के न्यूट्रिएंट्स के साथ काफी क्लोजली जुड़ा हुआ है। ऑल आर एग्रीकल्चर विच हैज नाइट्रेट्स एंड लॉट ऑफ न्यूट्रिएंट्स, इट ऑल एंटर्स द ओशन एंड इट अफेक्ट्स द फाइटोप्लैंक्टन साइकिल, अफेक्टिंग देयर कार्बन absorption capacity of the ocean. So that is one linkage where water contamination, water quality affects climate change. The other one very interesting is from Africa, and sure in India because काम India में नहीं हुआ है. This thing from Africa is about how cholera is making a comeback. It's being projected for next 30-40 years because of temperature increase. There is a strong link with cholera, with temperature increase in water. And something else which is linked with cholera is also salinity. पानी की क्षारता भी cholera के साथ काफी closely इसका relation है. Third thing, I won't go into detail, but just talking about glacial melting and permafrost जो पूरी दुनिया में मेल्ट हो रहा है, और ये हो रहा है कि 50,000 70,000 साल पहले भी जो वायरस बैक्टीरिया उसमें छुपे हुए थे वो अभी निकल कर बाहर आ रहे हैं। और ये मैंने जब 4-5-6 महीने पहले प्रेजेंट किया था, तो शायद इस तरीके के जो सुपर बग्स है ना, कि एक न्यू दिल्ली सुपर बग भी है जो अनफॉर्चुनेटली न्यू दिल्ली के नाम पे है, तो उसमें हमारी अवेयरनेस कम थी। तो अब जब इस तरीके का एक सिंगल वायरस दुनिया में इतना फैल सकता है, तो हमको शायद ये सब चीजों के बारे में थोड़ा सतर्क रहना चाहिए और जानकारी रखनी चाहिए कि ये सुपर बग्स और ये अलग अलग जो एंटीबायोटिक रेजिस्टेंट जो बैक्टीरिया एंड वायरस हैं वो कहाँ कहाँ से निकल रहे हैं. The other last one on climate and water quality is about Sambar Lake last year, an incident which happened where a lot of birds died, and a lot of close linkages with salinity, early monsoon, and infections. You can read up about this or maybe get in touch with me to find out more about any of these things. ना कि ये सभी चीजों के बारे में अगर climate water quality के बारे में जानना है तो please we can interact over it. I won't go into further detail. With the current situation, many interactions that we had within our network, there have been a lot of concerns about excessive use of disinfectants. है ना कि आप हम सभी जान रहे हैं कि हम सभी यूज कर रहे हैं. मैं खुद कहता हूँ कि मैं कितनी बार हैंड वॉश कर रहा हूँ कि सैनिटाइजर यूज कर रहा हूँ. हर बार मुझे भी लगता है, मगर ये जो स्प्रेइंग है, ये जो पब्लिक स्प्रेइंग है, जो जान बचाने के लिए कर रहे हैं, सेविंग लाइव्स, यस there is a need to it, and I'm in no way arguing against it, but then yes, we need to be aware of what is going to happen 3 months from now, 6 months from now, years from now, because these are persistent chemicals. These stay within the environment and many of them are being used indiscriminately. Right now we have a bigger crisis and we need to control that, but we also need to think about the chemicals which are being released. So this is the last slide of this section, and very quickly I'll go into the next part. I think I'm overshooting time, Himanshu. No? तो यहाँ पर ब्रॉडली जो मैं कहने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि ये है कि वाटर क्वालिटी बहुत सारे सेक्टर्स के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है, यानी कि हेल्थ एंड न्यूट्रिशन के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है. कई लिंकेजेस हैं जिसमें एनीमिया है, बोन हेल्थ है, वो फ्लोराइड, डायरिया कई इश्यूज के साथ लिंक्ड है. एग्रीकल्चर के साथ क्लोजली जुड़ा हुआ है, फूड चेन में आ जाता है ये सभी चीजें, और हमारे शरीर में तो उस तरह से भी आता है. इकोसिस्टम्स जैसे कि वेटलैंड्स हैं, वेटलैंड्स पानी को साफ भी करते हैं, मगर वेटलैंड्स दूषित पानी से अफेक्टेड भी हो जाते हैं. और लाइवलीहुड्स तो तरह तरह से अफेक्ट होते हैं. कई सारे फिश के स्पीसीज हैं वो निकल गए हैं, तो फिशरमैन आर गेटिंग अफेक्टेड, मेनी वेज इन विच लाइवलीहुड्स आर गेटिंग अफेक्टेड बिकॉज ऑफ पुअर वाटर क्वालिटी. एंड क्लाइमेट का तो मैंने, so there are upstream and downstream linkages. That is, many issues which affect water quality positively or negatively, and water quality affects many other different streams. So that is why I say that there is this big opportunity, in the sense that if we actually keep water quality as an indicator of the environment of the system as a whole, you can actually get improvements on many different things, all of which are put over here. It is a very strong indicator which can be measured, और उससे बदलाव हम ले आ सकते हैं कई चीजों में. और इसका बहुत बड़ा एक कॉस्ट है. कॉस्ट ह्यूमन सोसाइटी पे है, इकोलॉजी पे है, इकोसिस्टम्स पे है, मेडिकल कॉस्ट्स है. और इस कॉस्ट को मुझे नहीं लगता है कि मैं कोई इसके ऊपर नंबर डालना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा कॉस्ट है. डालना चाहिए मुझे लगता है, और कोई इसके ऊपर काम भी करना चाहिए. 15 साल पहले हमने इसके ऊपर काम करना शुरू किया, मगर 2 साल के बाद हम रुक गए, क्योंकि ये कॉस्ट हमसे एस्टिमेट रियली नहीं हो रहा है. तो अगर हम आप में से कोई रिसर्चर है जो करना चाहते हैं इसका एस्टिमेशन की वाटर क्वालिटी का ओवरऑल कॉस्ट क्या है, so please, you're welcome, and we can interact with you. So now I come to the last part, and I'll quickly go into this last few minutes. I know I'm overshooting by 5 minutes, more than 5 minutes now, but I'll quickly go into some frameworks. मैं पर्टिकुलर सॉल्यूशन में नहीं जा रहा हूँ, है ना. मैं कोई पर्टिकुलर टेक्नोलॉजी पे नहीं जा रहा हूँ कि ये ट्रीटमेंट टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके हम बच सकते हैं. हाँ, डेफिनेटली बहुत सारे नए इनोवेशन एंड टेक्नोलॉजीज आने की जरूरत है, मगर थोड़े मैं फ्रेमवर्क्स में यहाँ पे जा रहा हूँ कि जो मुझे लगता है कि हमारे सोच को आगे बढ़ाता है. Some frameworks which can take our thinking forward more. The first framework I would put forward is to look at water quality as a commons issue. यानी कि कॉमन्स इन द सेंस कि हमारा कुआं खराब है, हमारा कुएं में पानी खराब है, हमारा हैंडपंप खराब है, उससे अच्छा सोचें कि हमारे एरिया का जो एक्विफर है, यानी कि भूजल है, वो खराब है. कि वो कहाँ से दूषित है, कौन से जगह से क्या निकल के आ रहा है, कि आपका जो नदी है जिसका पानी दूषित हो रहा है ना, तो आपको पूरी नदी के देखने की जरूरत है. आपको अगर समुद्र में, ओशंस में अगर कंटामिनेंट्स आ रहे हैं, तो ओशंस एज अ कॉमन्स, आज के दिन में जिस क्लाइमेट में हम एटमॉस्फेयर एज कॉमन्स देख रहे हैं ना, तो इसमें वाटर क्वालिटी में हमें इन सभी को इकोसिस्टम्स को कॉमन्स तरीके से देखना है, और तभी हम उसमें प्रोग्रेस करेंगे. नहीं तो हमारा एक कुआं ठीक हो जाएगा, हमारा एक आरओ प्लांट लग गया, कुछ लग गया, मगर ओवरऑल सिस्टम और पीछे चला गया. itna myopic, we cannot have such a myopic view of bringing nature back. We have to have a much broader view, is what I'm trying to put over here. Second thing, I think very important, very important, and that's why I spoke about culture at the beginning. And यहाँ पर तो मैं जो मैंने इस सीन के साथ काफी लोग होंगे हरिद्वार का है ना, कि जो बिलीफ ना, कि जो बिलीफ है पानी के बारे में लोगों के अंदर, वो है लोगों के मन में है, और वो कल्चर का पार्ट है. इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ पीपल्स कल्चर अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड ना. एंड बिहेवियर्स लोगों का उसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है. बट सिर्फ वही नहीं है ना, कि हमारे देश में जेंडर एंड मार्जिनलाइज्ड पीपल इज अ बिग इश्यू, एंड दैट अफेक्ट्स देयर बिहेवियर अ लॉट. आज के दिन पे भी ये जो महिला है वो चल के जा रही है टैंकर का पानी लेते हुए अपने दूर अपने घर तक, है ना. तो उस बिहेवियर्स को आप उस टाइम पे वाटर क्वालिटी कैसे सोच सकते हैं अपने मन में, how can she think about the quality of water from that water tanker? It's the last thing on her mind. And then definitely we cannot ignore when we talk about behaviors, in terms of even things like almost thinking about products. जैसे कि यहाँ पर बच्चा है, वहां तक उसकी माँ तक कैसे लेकर जाए ना, कि सोल्यूशन है, मगर वो अपनाएं कैसे उस चीज को. एंड यहाँ पर मैं आखिरी चीज जो राइट में आप देख रहे हैं, उस चीज में मैं ज्यादा नहीं जा रहा हूँ गहराई में, मगर फ्यूचर में जो न्यूरो कॉग्निटिव फील्ड हैं, जो डिजिटली एंड ह्यूमन ब्रेन कैसे काम कर रहा है, और उसको अलग इन्फ्लुएंस कैसे हो सकता है, ये डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में ज्यादा यूज हो रहा है, मगर सोशल बिहेवियरल फील्ड्स में इसका कम यूज हो रहा है. एंड प्रॉब्ली फ्यूचर इज गोइंग टू बी लॉट अबाउट न्यूरो कॉग्निटिव थिंकिंग, बिहेवियर्स को समझने में. तीसरा जो पहलू है, जिसमें मैंने कहा आपको कि जो मैंने फ्लोराइड का चित्र दिखाया था, उसमें आप देखिए और याद कीजिए कि हम कभी भी हमारे पास डेटा हमारे पास पूरा नहीं होने वाला है. हमारे देश में करीब वी हैव अराउंड 30 मिलियन और 40 मिलियन wells. I don't know the number. We cannot keep measuring each of the 40 million or so wells for each of the parameters and for every month of the year. It is impossible. It is impossible to do that, and we are always going to have data which is insufficient. So then you need a lot more things to come in, and now we have things like AI, artificial intelligence, and predictive capacity. तो कैसे दूसरे वेरिएबल से समझना, जैसे कि अगर फ्लोराइड इश्यू है तो दांतों को देख के समझ सकते हैं. तो अगर आप बच्चों को हंसाएं उनके दांतों से, आप फोटो से आप बता सकते हैं कि पानी में फ्लोराइड है, तो वो एक एआई आपको बता सकता है ना. तो वो लर्न कर सकता है, और उसी के लिए नए सेंसर्स भी आ रहे हैं जो इस चीज को मेजर कर रहा है. और अभी ये फील्ड अभी उभर के आ रहा है. अगले 5-10 साल में हम इस चीज को बहुत ज्यादा देखेंगे, मगर इसको कैसे और ह्यूमन बनाए. ऐसा नहीं कि एआई और डेटा से कम्युनिटीज और समुदाय और दूर न चले जाएं इश्यू के साथ. एआई और डेटा है, उसकी सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज उसके साथ ये है कि कैसे हम लोगों को उसके साथ जोड़ें, और वो बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है हम सबको सोचने के लिए. लास्ट में मैं इसी पॉइंट पे आता हूँ कि हम सबको इसमें साथ काम करने की जरूरत है. एक हल्का सा चीज नीचे लिखा हुआ है, वाटर क्वालिटी नेटवर्क, जो इसी तरह वाटर प्रैक्टिशनर्स नेटवर्क जैसे ही है उसकी के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है. हम सब साथ में काम कर रहे हैं, जिसमें कोशिश ये है कि एक व्यक्ति से काम नहीं हो सकता है. हम सबको अलग संस्थाएं, अलग लोगों के साथ, हम सबको साथ मिलकर काम करने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि ये इश्यूज बहुत बड़े हैं. हम बस शुरू कर रहे हैं इनमें काम करने के लिए, और आगे हम सबको साथ में इसके ऊपर मिलकर काम करना जरूरी है ना. तो इसके साथ मैं इस प्रेजेंटेशन को खत्म करता हूँ. आई थिंक आई हैव एक्सीडेड बाय लॉट, सॉरी फॉर दैट. तो ये 4 जो दिशाएं हैं, इकोसिस्टम, कॉमन्स, बिहेवियर्स एंड डिमांड, एआई एंड डेटा नेटवर्क्स, आई काइंड ऑफ पॉज हियर एंड जस्ट give you some things to think along. Thank you very much for this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sundar. So I think what I'll do is I've also been tracking some of the questions in the Q&A and a few comments in the chat. I also believe some people had sent a few questions as a reference point. So, I've actually listed about 10 or 12 questions, but I'm actually going to club some of them for you, Sundar. And what I will do is I will maybe put 2 or 3 questions in one, club them together, and get a quick response from you. And then we can see if we have the time to go to individual questions. In fact, I would actually suggest and urge a lot of the audience to write to Sundar and see if if you have any specific queries or questions about your area. you can write to him, and you can write to the Water Practitioners Network, both the Water Practitioners Network and the Water Quality Network, and we can get this going as you go along. So let me just make an attempt to club some of these questions. तो कुछ सवाल विशेष करके जो जियोजेनिक कंटामिनेशन है, जो प्राकृतिक रूप से पत्थर के गुणधर्मों के आधार पे पानी में उसका वो होता है, सॉल्यूशन में आ जाते हैं, जैसे कि फ्लोराइड और आर्सेनिक। तो उसमें काफी कुछ सवाल सुंदर है, और उसमें एक सवाल जो मैंने जो फ्रेम किया है कि ऐसे इलाकों में जहां फ्लोराइड है या आर्सेनिक है, वहां एक रणनीति क्या होनी चाहिए वाटर क्वालिटी के साथ डील करने के लिए. So the kind of strategy for dealing with this kind of contamination. The second very popular question that is coming up is in terms of, I've again clubbed it in terms of the sort of modern response or the more recent responses to water quality issues, which has been in the form of water treatment, especially with regard to technologies, and again, specifically with regard to RO technology and its proliferation, and your take on that. Again, a part of that is this whole bottled water industry, which has proliferated and come about. And, together we are all sort of part of making that industry grow in some senses. Then the third is about desalination. And what about desalination? What are the environmental health consequences of using desal water? So I'll just pause here and then come back to the next two or three. So one is on fluoride arsenic strategies. Second one is specifically on water treatment, RO technologies, bottled water, desal. And maybe you can also then, since you're on this topic, refer to the chemical versus more eco-friendly treatments. There's a lot of work on eco-friendly treatments. Maybe allude to that. So there you go.
Yes, Himanshu. Yeah, as I ended the talk, I sort of shared my view on most of these problems, especially fluoride, arsenic, and many a times we feel that at the core it is a behavioral issue. Many a times, especially on fluoride and arsenic, and I would say especially about them, because it is a a long-term thing, right, for people, and you always feel that it won't happen to me. If you are in that part of society which does not give priority to health or even preventive health issue, and you're not in that position to think about it, right? On my mind are many other things, my debt, my crop, my family's health, so many different issues. So even things like preventive health, and then thinking about things like fluoride, arsenic, you don't see it, smell it, or taste it. Someone comes and tells you, it's unbelievable. If you tell me that, even if you tell me, I won't believe it. In my first go. At the core, it is a behavioral issue, especially for the people and the communities whom we really are concerned about, because as you say, a lot of other people are kind of paranoid about these issues, and they there is also this trend of connoisseurship on water, alkaline water and whatnot. So there is this whole other segment, which is paranoid, about so many things, including water, whereas there is a whole other end. uh, uh, how much ever you try, right, it is at the core of behavior, issue of behaviors, right? So we might say it's about data nahi hai, it's about sarkar kuch nahi kar raha hai. Yes, it's true. Yes, definitely it's true. A lot of, and those are closely linked to the behavior issue. But I feel, especially for fluoride and arsenic, it is at the core, a large part of it is the behavior issue. And I feel if we get a hang of it, if we do better work on it, a large part of the issue, I think, would get addressed. That's that's my personal view. On the second part, this whole quick fix thinking that we have, right? And I think it's not just about reverse osmosis RO, right? There is this whole tendency to be independent, right? I want to be off the grid. If I have a power cut problem, then I get an inverter. If I if I have a water problem, I'll get a RO machine, right? If I'm feeling hot, I'll get an AC. So I just want to take care of my family and just forget about the entire world. It's quick fix. Everything, right? Everything. If I want television now channels, it's from a dish, and now even you don't even need that. So you just want to, the whole trend and challenge, and then the market pushes that much more. ROI for me is just an example within it. I can see Amitangshu here, and then he's doing his PhD thesis on an RO, and I agree with him also that as a policy, something like RO got pushed a lot, and this is from 1970s, right? It's not even now. Last 40 years, 50 years, that something like RO was pushed for the salinity problem, and now it's become mainstream. There are subsidized versions and not. It's a huge market in itself. Now there are technologies also which are much safer. There are newer technologies which come every few months. We hear of some new research, new technologies. But then for anything new to actually work at scale, like RO, it's very difficult because it's very entrenched. The political economy of reverse osmosis is now huge, right? And to actually the whole perception of taste has been sort of even imposed, right? With this whole initially Bisleri water to Aquaguard to mineral to now RO water, right? So I would say that it's very difficult now to actually dislodge it unless there's like huge policy push to do it, which is not as of now. Yeah, what was the third one, Himanshu? Sorry, I forget. Third.
No, I think you've kind of answered that, the third one. But I mean, with RO, I mean, it was essentially around bottled water, desal processes, which I think, you know, so for example, one of the questions which is coming up is the whole context of decentralized and centralized systems. I mean, desal essentially would go into more sort of large scale systems. Nations are doing it. Whereas RO has, like you said, proliferated right into the households. And therefore, that context also, if you can quickly talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're right that, as I mentioned, there is this whole perception of failure of the public system, which then pushes us to become independent with newer and newer gadgets, right? And that perception is pushed strongly by the market, even if your tap water is safe, right? And then that perception is pushed, and then so if you look at many of the areas which have pipe water supply, and till the household, even in rural areas, these are also the places where there is also domestic RO plants, in rural areas, and also the jug can industry, right? So the more drinking water also entire pipe water system goes, the more the market also goes, along with it, to push this whole thinking that the water that you're getting from a tap is not safe. Use this particular product, and it's if you take Mumbai for instance, the best example that we can. Mumbai just needs little bit of disinfection, right? And one of my friends here, DK Bose, I suggested to him sometime back to just use chlorine tablets, but it's so difficult to use it. Day in and day out, chlorine tablet, put it in a bucket, wait for it, there's a smell and so on. Again, there's a behavioral thing which hits you because you're alone in this. Now, if there are like a few million people doing that, then it becomes easy. no? So yeah, there is a larger push towards, I think, some technologies and some solutions. So it becomes easy for us to just lazily stay with that.
Fair enough. So Sundar, let's move to the next sort of group of questions. And I want to sort of take you back a little on two specific issues. First, I mean, let me begin by posing the question as it has come. When did we begin in this country to worry about water quality? I mean, was it before independence, after independence? When? I mean, when did we really start worrying about water quality? And linked to that is the question of perceptions, which is, the whole context of purity in water. And it's linked to even the marginalization of certain, segments of society. And therefore, that a little bit on the history, on the social context of water quality marginalization, has it changed as a consequence of looking more closely at water quality? If you can throw some light on that. So that is the first part. The second part is a little in terms of the here and now. So history to here and now. And in that context, if you actually look at the COVID situation, and I think you alluded to the additional contamination of chemicals into coming into water. And of course, there's the big question on whether the loads of the virus itself, the load of the virus itself gets into water. I think I'm going to step back from the specifics and ask you a question on terms of how would, say, a pandemic like COVID, not necessarily COVID, but any pandemic, impact water quality? I mean, some insights on that. And then the trade-offs between water quality and the environment that ensue from these impacts. So history, society, and the modern times in terms of health. And so I want to take you a little closer to the health part of it. So maybe that's the second set.
Sure, Himanshu. I think sometimes we kind of underestimate the sense of history, right? Good that you brought it here. So if you see, this whole, even globally, not even India, if you look at it globally, this whole thing about investigating the causes of health, this whole field for etiology, that is, why is this certain thing happening, it comes from, at least couple of thousand years back, 2000, years back, across the world, the Greeks or in our country and so on. But then the first recorded thing that we all go back to is John Snow, right? I think somewhere 1840s or so. His whole thing of cholera, cholera, the cholera epidemics have been South Asian. It's millions of people dying in pandemics in South Asia, across waves of cholera epidemics across the world. And it was an unknown thing. Why is cholera happening? And then came John Snow somewhere in the middle of the 19th century to sort of discover that it is linked with water. It's about water contamination. It's the thing I was alluding to in terms of Swachh Bharat and the toilets and all those things. So cholera has been around, for a while, and it's in the 19th century, right? Water quality has been thought about as pathogens, like cholera, and then E. coli is this indicator pathogen which has been around, and it's been in a sense of understanding among public health engineers. You have to get rid of these pathogens. So that way, that is old. I mean, that has been around for a while, and even in India, cholera is. If you talk with people from earlier generations, uh, uh, they would talk about cholera, right? The whole culture around the cholera epidemic, and a lot of people would have related definitely with water, right? About the linkage, strong linkage of cholera. So in that sense, yes, water quality, the concern around it is old. And how much in a public sense, in terms of people who, in terms of people who are aware in a broader sense, is scientists, or in terms of society largely, I would doubt it. Definitely, I would say early turn of 20th century, people would be just drinking pond water and be happy, even in cholera affected areas. Even now, some people definitely continue to do that. But yeah, if you look at, say, a problem such as fluoride, it was 1830s, sorry, 1930s that it was first discovered. So, and some governments at least started working on it. The Planning Commission started working on it in 1950s. They had committees set up on looking at problems of water quality and fluoride. So, it it is, I would say that it came in stages, looking at one thing after the other. Earlier it would have been mainly looking at bacterial viral pathogen problems, and then slowly this thinking of chemicals, contaminants. Some 50s and 60s would have been fluoride, and then 70s, 80s would have been arsenic, and then came on, things like nitrate and others, and then heavy metals from industries, and maybe probably even things like the Bhopal tragedy and others also kind of woke up a lot of people towards contaminants and many other environmental movements. So in the 90s, probably, came the time when maybe a larger awareness came about, on all of this. That's how I would say, I look at broadly the history. But then this whole perception. And so if you look at 80s, when especially NRIs coming to India and having Bisleri water, very specifically, right? People going outside the country and coming back and saying, okay, this country, so water is difficult for us to drink, and then Bisleri came about as kind of a brand, right? And then Aquaguard became that brand, right? But implicitly connected with water quality. So Bisleri to Aquaguard to RO to Kent, to even actually mention names of brands over here. But then yes, that's the public perception, right? The public perception of water quality is in that form. It's in terms of those brands also, which are promoted very widely. I'll pause here, on that, on how I see it. Yeah, coming to the current the situation, I think knowledge on COVID is kind of emerging every day. I saw a strange piece of research today which talked about flushing in toilets and aerosols getting released, and possibility of infections happening. And then wastewater, definitely, a lot of people are working on it. I know WaterAid had a very interesting webinar on this, on actually looking at very different sense. COVID-19 within wastewater is not considered to be harmful for transmission till now, but then looking at it as a community level indicator to be monitored at a much lower cost and kind of an advanced warning perspective, just as it is done for things like polio virus and others. So in that sense, yes, a very broad sense understanding is developing. But then impact on issues like water, so I think that's the impact on anything else, because right now, um, when such a crisis really hits you, then every other problem, every other health problem really falls down in a very minuscule way compared to, the current pandemic which is going on, and which is not just about issues of health related to water contamination, but it's even about any other health issues which are now coming about and getting affected with, are getting lesser attention, and any other developmental issue also receiving a lesser attention. So yes, water and so this year in the summer media, we didn't hear anything about water scarcity. Does that mean that there was no water scarcity in this summer? So I think it's just that definitely there's been the attention on many other issues has reduced, um, and yeah, we need to get them back, because they'll just make it worse, right? That's how I see it. I'll
Yeah.
pause here.
Yeah, Sundar. So two more sets I have, just to make this as comprehensive as possible, and then we can maybe open it for some specific questions. We probably might not have time for too many of those. I am also sort of exploring the possibility of uh, passing over the questions to you, the ones that have come up, very specific questions which are not necessarily covered in this discussion, and then through the Water Practitioners Network, maybe get your responses on some of them. But that's something we can think about later. So my next set is on measurement of water quality, the overall water quality monitoring protocol, including one very interesting question on what is the sort of, what are the standards on microplastics in water? So that whole protocol of measurement, all of that. Related to that, how can water quality monitoring be made more impactful in the kind of work that you do on water quality on one side, health on the other side, and the comprehensive responses that also include nutrition as a third component. So if you can throw a little light on that, that would be very interesting. Another common question that is coming up, and I'll just pose it right here, is the coterminal issues of water depletion and contamination. You alluded to it in terms of the scarcity or the sort of the the lack of attention to scarcity in today's scenario. But hitherto, in much of the locations and much of the focus on water that we've seen, it's really about scarcity. Whereas scarcity and quality actually go together to, you know, to look at a more comprehensive, if you were to look at a more comprehensive response to water quality. So, quick thoughts on those 3 points.
Sure, Himanshu. Thank you for bringing up these three different ones. I'll first start with the one on standards and especially on microplastics. I did a bit of
Sundar, we
research
can't
couple of
hear
years
you.
back. Achha, can you hear me now? Hello?
Hello,
Hello?
Aditi.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Aditi,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one, Himanshu, on standards and so there is this whole standards is a whole big game in itself, in the sense that how do standards really get decided and what goes behind it. There are like for one chemical, there are like 25 people in a committee globally putting together so many research papers and then looking at things like MTDI, as I mentioned there, like that is daily intake, per body weight. So now when it comes to microplastics, couple of things which I realized. One, there is this whole issue about definition of microplastics as of today. It doesn't seem that the world seems to agree on the size, the what is really and type of microplastics and so on and so forth. That is point number one. It seems that there is still not a consensus on it, and I'm fine with it in the sense that we are still in early days, but we need to figure out very quickly. It's not, it is a too lame an excuse to not proceed further. So there is one thing about definition. The other thing is, I think some world body, WHO or someone, brought out a summary note 4 months back, which says that current evidence on health impacts of microplastics are inconclusive. Right? So this is something which came out, I think, in January. I might be wrong, but we can have a look at it. And that has kind of put a stall to even talking about it. Now, that doesn't affect us to do campaigns on a plastic-free environment and so on and so on, but it is important. Standards are important. They are benchmarks. They are milestones to achieve. So I think we should make progress on it. But this is what I understand from it, and that's why unless you make progress on that, you can't derive the standards, right? So this is where I feel it stands. I might be wrong. So maybe there is progress on it in the last few months, but if there is, then please someone can update me. Secondly, yeah, um, the Himanshu, it's all about the health and nutrition and other linkages that you spoke about, right?
Yes.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. So for us, when we in our early days of working on water quality, it was all about कि पानी में कितना nitrate है, पानी में कितना fluoride and so on. Sorry, I forgot Hindi for a while. I'll come back to it again. तो कि पानी के क्वालिटी मतलब पानी में कितना कौन सी चीजें हैं, है ना? बट देन हमको कई सारे भारत में बहुत अच्छे डॉक्टर्स हैं. देयर आर मेनी गुड मेडिकल स्पेशलिस्ट डॉक्टर्स इन इंडिया. I'll name them, few of them: Dr. A.K. Sushila, Dr. Raja Reddy, Dr. Tapas Chakma, Dr. Arjun Khandare, Dr. Tiotia, Dr. Gupta. The list is endless, and I might have missed a lot of them. Sunita Sapur and so on. So they kind of educated us and said, देखिए कि every time in research, आपको दिखता है कि other things constant, and other things are never constant, because the other thing is constant is your body health is working fine, and then आपका nutritionally you are very good, but it is never true. India is a country where there is severe undernourishment, and then you have regionally issues such as kidney problems and this and that and so on. So what happens eventually is that the co-related factors, especially malnutrition and others, they end up affecting people a lot in terms of health symptoms. So why do you find certain pockets of arsenic affected areas in Bihar affected with such high levels of cancer, but you don't find in some pockets in West Bengal or Assam? Why do you find only some pockets of Andhra Pradesh very highly affected with disability, and even children affected with disability in Madhya Pradesh with high fluoride, but you don't see it in, say, some parts of Punjab and so on. These things are individual factors, but when you see it regionally, then nutrition and other factors also came in. So then like us started working on it, and in fact, it is another window to start working on water quality issues. There's all these other
Sundar, I guess we can't hear you. I think there's a problem at your end, because I just checked with Aditi and she said she can hear me. So I guess there's very little we can do. I actually had one more and then we could have done this. So Aditi, what do you propose?
Can we hear him, or have we lost him?
No, I think I can't. I think we've lost his connection. Yeah,
Hmm.
his connection seems to be down. So let me just, since we are there, I'll just see if I can,
So I'll just get in touch with him.
or
and-
maybe you can get in touch with him
Yeah.
and see where it goes.
Be back.
So in the meantime, for everyone else, I think, with your specific questions, so, there were questions on rainwater harvesting and the water quality therein. And then there's a whole set of questions on the testing itself and whether we can actually have a sort of some kind of a indicator, a compounded indicator or index on water quality. So I believe you will probably have to write to Sundar or INREM Foundation or the Water Quality Network, or maybe write to Aditi on the Water Practitioners Network. And we will also try and set up a sort of Q&A or a discussion which is offline. Sundar, do you hear us?
Yeah, Himanshu, is my voice clear now?
Yeah, it's much better now. So I think
Okay.
the last part was something we couldn't hear.
Yeah.
And
It's okay. I think was my thing about standards and microplastics. Did it get through?
No, I don't think it. I mean, I couldn't hear it.
I just maybe we're also, I don't know about people's times. I have a lot of time. So
No, I think you can go on. We'll
Okay.
see. Maybe another 10 minutes we can wrap up. But can you
Okay, okay.
sort of throw light
So
on that?
the first thing was about standards and microplastics, and then health and nutrition. What was the third one? Again, voice gone. Is my voice there, Aditi? Can you confirm?
So there was, Sundar, the third one was the co-terminal issues on depletion and contamination, especially with regard to
Sure,
groundwater.
sure. I'll very quickly go through it. So the first thing about microplastics is that the last time I did research on it was around 4 months back, 4 to 5 months back. There is this whole issue about definition of microplastics, and it's a very sad thing that there's not even clarity on that. That is about the size of particles, about what kind of plastics, and so on. And that is kind of stalling research on it, and also trying to come up with standards. That is point number one. The second point is also about I think it was WHO or some major health body which came up with a synthesis note which said that it is inconclusive. The health consequences of microplastics on humans is inconclusive. There are many studies, but they don't seem to indicate a clear health impact. And if they don't do that, then setting up standards is difficult, right? So that's where it stood, and kind of it prevented this whole direction of looking at microplastics, and all that. It doesn't stop us doing campaigns on plastic, and it doesn't stop the society, but then having standards are important because it sets a benchmark. And I think we should make progress on it, because it's too lame an excuse to say that we don't have a common definition on it, right? So this is the I think I'll pause here on standards and microplastics. The second issue is health and nutrition, especially for the journey that we in our organization have had. It was kind of a revelation discovery for us when people such as Dr. Sushila, Dr. Raja Reddy, Dr. Chapas Chakma, Dr. Gupta from Jaipur, S.K. Gupta from Jaipur, Dr. Tiotia, Sunita Sapur here, these people mentioned that yes, it is a problem of water, but then there is a huge problem of undernutrition in our country, which is actually also influencing the way in which it impacts these problems, water quality problems impacts human beings. So if you take arsenic as a whole, there are only some pockets where you find high cancer in Bihar, but then you don't find it in some other pockets of Bihar or some other pockets of of West Bengal or Assam. If you take disability from problems like fluoride, you find extreme disability in some pockets of Madhya Pradesh, but you don't find it in pockets of Punjab and so on. So that was a big, I would say, revelation for us, and a lot of us started working on this angle. And I feel the way I look at it is that it's a room with many doors. And if there is a door of nutrition that opens it for you, you enter the room and start working and start making improvements. And there is a lot of ways in which you start working on a complex problem, such as water quality. And the more you understand it, there are many windows that you have and opportunities to work on it. Nutrition and health are just one such dimension. I'll quickly touch on the water scarcity part. Yes, Himanshu, the one whole issue of water salinity, it is especially coastal salinity ingress, is very closely linked to over-exploitation of water and aridity and then ingress happening within it. Also, many other issues are now emerging. So if you look at the research on uranium, there was this research from Duke University in Rajasthan and South Rajasthan and North Gujarat. It talks about area with extremely highly fluctuating water tables in the upper aquifers being areas where uranium release could happen more, and similarly for arsenic also, where fluctuations are closely linked to release of the contaminant. Yes, and fluoride, there are many places where we have evidently seen with bore wells and deeper bore wells being closely linked to fluoride. But these are generalities. In terms of specific local variations are definitely there. But broadly, yes. I mean, the more waters get scarce, even as a river basin level, the flushing out of contaminants reduces, aridity increases, and that's where climate change also comes in, where if you have longer spells of aridity where the flushing out of contaminants becomes poor, and this all happens through flash floods, then this whole aspect of balance of different nutrients and contaminants within the water system as a whole suffers, right? So yes, aridity and exploitation and overuse of water is very, very closely linked to all of these water contaminant issues, and that's one of the big reasons why you see a trend, right, over the long term. Yes, Himanshu. Was it clear this time?
Yes, it was very clear,
Okay.
Sundar, and
So-
also very clearly articulated. I sort of rest my third question, which was on climate change, and I think you alluded to that. So if essentially what you're saying, and I like that metaphor of a room with many doors and possibly windows, where where one could, and because this is related to a question, so there are a variety of drivers like climate, like extraction, like user behavior, like exogenous contamination, and even markets. And therefore, because the drivers are so diverse and different, your responses have to be your responses have to be customized to some of these drivers. I mean, that is what I got from your presentation. I think what I'll do is we probably spend another 5-6 minutes for people to quickly raise their hands. And of course, I will use my position as a moderator to pick and choose on specific questions. And I'll get maybe one or two people to ask a question. So Amitangshu has raised his hand first. I'll just wait for a minute. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll take that. In the meantime, you can think through and maybe raise your hands. If you strike a lottery, I'll get you to ask your question. Amitangshu, you can go first. You'll have to unmute yourself, Amitangshu. Hello, Amitangshu. Well, I can't hear him. Sundar, can you hear him?
I cannot hear him also.
Yeah. Can you ask him to write his question? Because
I think one question that he wrote about was, getting more clarity on the behavioral aspect of fluoride and
because
arsenic. So
we are
why
on a
do I?
webinar mode, we can't have the participants talk. So that's
Okay. So then maybe,
Okay.
yeah, maybe then what I will do,
yeah.
yeah, maybe maybe there was a behavior question that he asked. I tried to integrate his other questions into the more
Yeah,
generic
and
question.
he has replied saying exactly right. So yeah, I can talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to talk about that?
Yeah, the particular, Amitanshu, yeah, and also everybody else in this call is, say I always try to take this example. It might say it's maybe a wrong example. Like if someone tells me that I might have a problem of diabetes if I don't walk every morning at 5 o'clock for an hour, and I'll say because there are it won't happen to me. I mean that you know why should I take so much pain for something which has a very poor chance and spoil my sleep every day in the morning? I mean, these are chronic problems, chronic health problems which are in the long term, which might happen to me. There is a chance, there's a probability that I could have. Especially since if I am a person for whom preventive health is not a big deal. I mean, it doesn't come to my mind at all. There are so many other priorities on my mind. My daily income, my debt, and so on and so forth. So I mean, for that large segment of society, just to get the message across, just to just this presentation, just what we are talking about over here, just to take that across is a massive challenge. I'm not saying it has not worked; it has worked, but it has worked in two situations, right? One is it has worked in small pockets where there has been intensive work, where there has been one-to-one a communication, but then it has also happened in a very secular long-term trend way, where people emerge out of that situation and understanding. I get Amitanshu, now it's clearer. You mean to say that why are you really taking out the state's problem over here? I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. We shouldn't do that. I agree with you that we shouldn't really take out the state's responsibility, over here in terms of saying that, especially on something which is a basic rights issue, like we totally not bringing the state away. It's absolutely not that. At the core, drinking water is a governance issue. But what I'm talking about is the context beyond that. Right? Is that okay? Once solutions are taken ahead, once things are put forward, you need a real, very strong participation from people to actually make it work, and that's where the big challenge lies. Now I get your question. Yes, Amitanshu. Yeah.
Okay, so now I will just take one more. I think Umang has raised his hand.
Yeah, and we can also let them speak now. We have figured out a way. But if we want, we can have 2 or more people. Like,
Yeah,
as
so
you
maybe
see.
Umang raised his hand, so we'll give him the first chance.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, Umang, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is like recently Niti Aayog reported that composite water management index that 21 states will run out of groundwater. So my question is like, can rainwater harvesting also with groundwater recharge, can it also improve the quality of water? For example, there is an arsenic affected area or fluoride affected area. So by rainwater harvesting, can that quality automatically improve?
Sundar, you want to take that?
Yes, Umang. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Umang. If there is just one thing that we want to do on dealing with all these issues, and especially for drinking water, if there is just one thing that we are going to do, it better be just rainwater harvesting. I mean, if we are going to do it for everybody in this country, and there is just one thing that we want to do which really ensures that people have drinking water for good quality drinking water forever, I think it should just be um, rainwater, which is much purer than anything else that we have. Yes, definitely, totally with you on it.
Thank you, Sundar. So I think we're completely out of time. We've actually exceeded the time, even sort of considering the delay and the sort of, we overcame the delay. We actually did the 1 hour and we are beyond that. So I'll sort of just close by thanking Sundar for his excellent presentation, his articulation, and of course, the room with many doors and windows. So I think it is a big challenge, and I think we'll also get people to, through the Water Practitioners Network, to pose questions to you, to maybe write to you and get specific responses to questions that we were possibly not able to cover in such a short time. So thanks from my side. Maybe Aditi would like to make some closing comments before we formally close.
Yes, thank you so much. And I want to apologize for not streaming this live. We had a technical issue and we've been trying to go live simultaneously on Facebook. But at the same time, I want to tell everybody that we will be making this whole recording available on our YouTube channel and simultaneously sending the video to all our participants via their inbox on Gmail, and also putting it up on every social media possible. And last but not the least, I would like to thank Dr. Himanshu for moderating the session so well and actually letting most of the questions being answered. And thank you, Dr. Sundar Rajan Krishnan, for doing this with us. And I also want to thank his Water Quality Network for collaborating with us on this endeavor. And as he's rightly said, we all have to partake in this journey together, because the crisis is real and it cannot be solved in isolation. So, which calls for all the water practitioners to work together. So, on that note, thank you everybody for joining in and for being so curious with. And also, we've been very, very, very grateful for receiving such an overwhelming response. And that's why I'm feeling very apologetic for not being able to stream this live on Facebook. But we believe that we'll be able to do more of such webinars in the future with no technical glitches. And we will be making everything available to you online. So a big thank you to Dr. Sundar and a big thank you to Dr. Himanshu for doing this for us on such a short notice. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for joining in and for your active participation. So with that note, I think we'll all leave. Dr. Sundar, you have anything to say in the end?
Yeah, I think just echoing what you spoke about, like we encourage people to get in touch with us, and we'll try our best to continue the conversations on specific things that people are interested in. In some sense, this webinar is just the beginning, for more interactions, and we are more than glad to just have conversations on any of these things. So thanks a lot to Water Practitioners Network. Thanks a lot, Himanshu, and hopefully, even in spite the glitches, hopefully, some of our voice actually went across.